Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hi, this is Nick Anastasiou, story editor on Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Bad Batch. And you are listening to Aggressive Negotiations.
You may be stuck in hyperspace lane traffic, but we're right here with you for the celebration of the year. It makes Life Day look like somebody's birthday on a distant planet in the outer rim that nobody wants to attend. That's right. It is time for the annual tradition of Thanksgungan, here and only here on Aggressive Negotiations, part of the Nerd Party Network. But Thanksgungan is the tradition by which this show is known, and I am pleased to host you to this meal. My name is Jedi Master John Mills, and I am joined by my esteemed co-host, my wonderful Grand Chef, who has whipped up some special casseroles for us. Jedi Master Matthew Rushing, what special message do you have to kick off this Thanksgungan for everybody?
Well, I've been hard at work, as you mentioned, having the chef duties this week. I have the fine Naboo turkey that I've been working on, smoking it to perfection. It is going to be wonderful. Of course, there's going to be some bantha steak, as well as what were those cow things on Naboo called?
Shacks?
Shacks.
Shacks. Shacks.
Yes.
Yeah.
There will also be some shack cheese as well as shack steak as well. Some shack rump roast, delicious.
When you said shack cheese, I was afraid you were going to say shack tea, and I'm like, hey, that's a little out of bounds for Thanksgungan.
No, no cannibalism here. Of course, shack tea is wonderfully invited, and unfortunately, she died, so we always in her memory. But anyway, yes, we're going to have a great time tonight with a little bit of what we are thankful for here in Star Wars in 2023. And in all honesty, I feel like there were quite a few things.
There absolutely were, and one of the things, of course, let's just go ahead and say it. We're thankful for our listeners who, if you haven't had a chance yet, get out and give us a rating on Apple Podcasts. Reach out to us at thenerdparty.com/contact. Find us on social media at the Jedi Masters on X. And you can find the network at Joy Nerd Party on X, the Nerd Party on Facebook and Instagram. We're thankful for everybody. Matt, like you said, 2023, what is absolutely disorienting is it has been a banner year for Star Wars content without there feeling like there's been a glut of Star Wars content. It's almost as if fans through this year were complaining about a lack of content. And as I was going through my thankful list, I was like, wow, there was a lot of stuff this year. Sure, the books might not be top of mind for me right now, but Disney Plus has served us 4 series this year. That's a lot of series, but somehow it left us wanting more. I'm going to toss it to you right off the bat. Like the series that came at us in 2023, was there any special note, anything that gave you a special moment of thanks?
Just kind of starting at the beginning of the year and finally getting the Bad Batch Season 2.
Amen.
It's something that we had to wait an incredibly long time for, and I'm hoping that, as we look towards 2024, that, maybe early in that year we'll be getting Season 3, that final season of the Bad Batch. And, so for me, getting that was incredible. I mean, and two, the way that season ended with just a complete heartbreak. It very much the Empire Strikes Back end to that season, leaving you on the edge of your seat, just like Empire Strikes Back did, for everybody wanting to know what was going to happen then in the next film. How is this going to wrap up? And so, to me, that's the thing that really left, in all honesty, a huge indelible mark on my mind was that finale for that season. And of course, just incredibly grateful to know people behind the scenes as well on that, and just get to celebrate with them all of their hard work. It really coming to fruition. I think, the work that was done there, and just in general with Star Wars animation, I mean, it's just something that it's incredible to think that they work so hard on these seasons, right? And it takes them so long to do, and then they finally come out and to think, well, they've now been, working on season 3, and they've almost forgotten the fact season 2 because it was so long ago for them, and so I'm always grateful when we finally get these seasons so that fans can really celebrate the hard work that goes into these animated series.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
The fact that, we made no bones about it, but we 100% stand by the statement that the animated storytelling is legitimately and 100% some of the very best storytelling you'll ever see in Star Wars. And so, season 2 of The Bad Batch was no exception.
It kicked off the year in such a way that it was impossible. Look, I know this might be controversial to say, but it was the yardstick. As a longtime Star Wars fan, I was not confident that anybody would ever live up to the storytelling as it was expressed in that season. I think the year bore that out, that we started off on the highest level and we had some other... Look, Mandalorian had an uneven season 3, but there were still moments in that really worked. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So ups and downs, I'll take it, but it's not Bad Batch. Visions, I thought Volume 2 was a lot stronger than Volume 1. I really liked it a lot more.
Agreed. Yeah.
I thought it was just more thematically cohesive. I thought the stories they told were more interesting. I thought that they had just better stories to work with in general. It felt less impulsive. It felt more intentional. And then,
Yes.
of course, we have Ahsoka. And Ahsoka, we've talked about it, various outlets like 602 Club and everything. It's uneven, but man, once that engine got going, who would have ever thought years ago when Disney bought and all of the turmoil, all of the tumult, all of the craziness about it, that not only would we be pointed back toward the world between worlds, the gods of Mortis, we would be getting a live-action Thrawn. We would be getting Hayden Christensen returning as Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader in the world between worlds to deliver a final lesson to Ahsoka. You take me back in time, and everybody remembers just the absolutely topsy-turvy nature of when Disney took everything over. Well, okay, maybe that's a harsh way to say it, but when Disney bought and did it's the same thing that every megalithic corporation does. They did their reorg. And that's when Clone Wars, we got the rug pulled out from under us with it. That's when other projects went this way or that way. That's when different competing interests seem to assert their demands. I cannot overstate how emotionally satisfactory it was to get live action weird Star Wars, and specifically to get that moment in the world between worlds. That was such an incredible moment. I wish I could have seen it in the theater, but we finally got the promise of Star Wars that Lucas was pointing us toward in live action, expressed with Ahsoka, and what a banner moment.
One of the things that I think you did a great job of pointing out is that I really, I thought, of course, Mandalorian was a good third season. I think by the end of the season was better than at the beginning. It definitely was up and down, and I think that the beauty, though, of that was the way that it did, I think, come together. And I really very much enjoyed the storytelling by the end, and in some ways, they crafted, I think, a great kind of culmination of the first 3 chapters of the Mandalorian saga kind of feel as though they've brought us to a nice jumping off point for what's going to come next, in the Mandoverse, with that and Ahsoka and the things they're going to do, with Skeleton Crew and kind of then their plans to bring all that together. I think that's the thing for me that, whether I loved every single part of or just loved even some of the choices that they made in the storytelling for The Mandalorian, knowing that all of this is meant to kind of come together under the guidance of, Filoni with his film, and all of that was incredibly exciting. And it just kind of felt like finally the accolades that have been due somebody like Dave Filoni for a long time have finally come to fruition and kind of paid off his patience, more than the Emperor's guidance is what has made things pay off. And that's can only be good, I think, for Star Wars in general. And so that made me incredibly happy. And again, it's one of the things that made me incredibly happy with, even though, I didn't love every single facet of the Mandalorian season, the driving force behind it and where it was all going felt, I think, like you could tell, like, okay, we're building towards something in this universe, which, then, as you mentioned, when you come to Ahsoka and you can see where all of this is building to, and this big, massive thing that's coming to this galaxy from another galaxy, is just incredibly exciting as a fan. And, and I think the exciting part of that was that fans were finally, I think, being treated in some ways with real respect, for the things that we've loved and have wanted to see. And that patience on our part, maybe not so much patience sometimes, has also paid off, that we're, like you said, we're getting a live action Thrawn. We're getting live action references to and things happening in the world between worlds, the gods of Mortis, seeing live action scenes of the Clone Wars, Hayden Christensen being given his due. I mean, can we just talk about that for a second?
Yeah, we can.
The fact that, I think Hayden Christensen was given everything that he's deserved. Having just rewatched episode 3, Hayden Christensen is phenomenal. His commitment to this character, his love for this character, I think even his understanding of this character has been awesome. And so I think that's one of the best things that's come out of the Ahsoka series is the way in which fans have rallied around somebody that deserved their respect. And it's been a long time coming, but I'm really thankful for that having happened finally in Star Wars. That the love for Hayden Christensen is there, and that he's felt the love enough that he would want to come back and do this, right?
Yes. And to add on to what you're saying, something to be thankful for is that it would be, I'm going to try to phrase this in the most sort of like, lack of a better term, politically sensitive way, but franchises have a habit of walking away, quote unquote, from stuff that the management wasn't fond of, is the best way I can say it. But the core creative team at Lucasfilm stays dedicated to the idea that it all matters and it all comes together. And that's why Hayden Christensen, they don't just have a Darth Vader cameo, they have an Anakin Skywalker cameo. And the Anakin Skywalker that we knew and loved. And we get to see an expression of him as a wise person, somebody who's been through it and can speak from a position of wisdom to somebody who meant a great deal to him. And I love it. But that is all because of the core creatives staying dedicated to the idea of it mattering, of wanting to acknowledge what came before and wanting to embrace it and say, you know what? It's all a part of it. And let's just go with that and stick with it. I have to respect that, and I have to be thankful for it.
Well, and I mean, to think as well that the same thing happened for Ahmed Best with Keller and Beck in The Mandalorian, right? One of the best things about both of these shows is that they allowed two people who, unfairly, maliciously maligned by too many people, and to see fans again just kind of rally around Ahmed Best and his like the fact that he even came back to Star Wars after everything that's happened to him, and then the reception that he got was beyond glowing as it should have been. I think there was a podcast called The Redemption of Jar Jar Binks that had come out, which was a fascinating podcast to listen to. But I think in many ways, I see this last year of Star Wars as being the redemption of Star Wars fans. I think it's Star Wars fans showing when Star Wars fans are at their best what we can do and what we can be proud of as fans. And the reception that Ahmed Best and Hayden Christensen got for their portrayals in those two shows, I think is something that shows fandom at its best instead of its worst. And I pray that can continue, because I really appreciate people being willing to admit that they were wrong and then treat somebody with dignity and respect as they are due.
I think it also has the added benefit of further marginalizing the chodes who have the clickbait on YouTube. All of those stupid headlines that are designed just to incite people, just because it's rage bait. And that's how the algorithm works. And it's how it's always going to work. It's how it's always been. And it further marginalizes those people, because you suddenly realize in these moments, hey, wait, no, there are more of us who are decent about it. There are more people who are willing to go along with it. Oh, okay. It's a very vocal minority that has figured out the YouTube ad monetization game that dominate the online discourse sometimes. And it skews everything. And absolutely, the lens is turned the wrong way. So yes, to your point, I'm thankful that this 2023 seems to be the year that the lens got flipped back around. And we all said, oh, look, no, there is perspective. That is something to be grateful for.
Yeah. Well, and I think, that's something that was really important as well, because, I think of what happened, and I'll bring up the other Star franchise with the way in which, the Star Trek Picard was a huge hit. And it's because it's something that honored fans, treated them with respect. And I think the same thing has happened with Star Wars, right? Is that these things that have honored fans have treated them with respect. And I think the beauty of Ahsoka and The Mandalorian and The Bad Batch and Andor and all of these things, they show that all of these can coexist under the banner of Star Wars. And they can all be great Star Wars, and we can all like them for different reasons, and enjoy them for different reasons. I don't enjoy Andor for the same reason that I enjoy Ahsoka. The same way that I don't enjoy the Umbara arc for the same reason, the same way that I enjoy a lighter Star Wars Clone Wars arc. Right? Like, there are all of these different facets to this series that we like. And not everything in every show is going to be the exact same. And yet what comes down to, right, and I think this year has proven that, as connected to last year, is like good Star Wars storytelling is good Star Wars storytelling. Mm-hmm. And it can be done in a variety of different ways. And even George Lucas himself showed us that the way he did the Clone Wars, right? And that one week you could be laughing up a storm with something that Jar Jar Binks was doing in an episode, and the next week you could be crying your eyes out because of the way that clones are getting murdered by their own brothers in a trick by an evil Jedi. Just incredible stuff.
Again, 4 shows, and I enjoyed all of them to differing degrees, but I enjoyed them all. And you and I, we've been doing this experiment, to make another reference to 602 Club, with Assembling Avengers, where I'm going through phase 4 of Marvel for the first time. I think people need to appreciate that the batting average for Star Wars on streaming series, a lot stronger than they think it is. I mean, one heck of a lot stronger than they think it is, because there is a 1-to-1 comparison for me. And I'm like, okay, all right. I like what's happening here. This works for me. Now, here's just hoping that early in 2024, I can get my Bad Batch Season 3, because I've been going without Wrecker for too long, and I need my boy back in my life. So I'm just saying.
Well, and I got to give them credit, too, because another thing that they've done really well, and I'm really thankful for, is, they released Jedi Survivor, which was an incredible video game, following up on Jedi Fallen Order, and has become an incredible part of the franchise. The game was beautiful. It was so much fun to play. I still pop in and go searching for things that I'm, even though I've completed the game, that I'm, just to enjoy running around the worlds, because they're so beautiful, and like the gameplay itself is incredibly fun, and it was, in all honesty, it's just been so nice to have a Star Wars video game like that I'm looking forward to and enjoy playing as much as I have as that series. And so that was incredibly enjoyable this year to have, and it's something I was hugely thankful for. I really had a blast playing that game, and they continue, I think, to raise the bar for what it means to be a great Star Wars game. And I just hope that they will continue that. There's a new game coming out, and I hope that it can come even close to what this was able to do for Star Wars storytelling in a video game. So glad for that.
I'm really thankful that everybody seems to have enjoyed that, even though my Xbox, being unforgivably apparently 4 months out of date, can't play Jedi Survivor yet, and I'm not really in the position to buy a new Xbox quite yet. I'm really thankful that I have it to look forward to, because, in a few years when I got a new Xbox, the game will be more affordable, right? Isn't that how it works? So there you go. This will be fun.
Yeah, you would wish.
The prices always fall, right? It's like oil prices.
Yeah.
They eventually go, oh, wait, no.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get there eventually, though.
Knowing they've got, Star Wars Outlaws coming, hoping that that's a great game. The gameplay looked pretty cool when I saw it. And so hopefully they can continue that. I got to say, John, I think we were actually both very excited to see that John Jackson Miller was going to have a new book coming out next year, which leads me on the edge of my seat for, Star Wars The Living Force, which is a book about the Jedi Council during the era of the prequels. And I am, so excited that they're going to be going back to that time period for Star Wars books, because I feel like it's just the amount of storytelling that can happen there is phenomenal. But, having loved his storytelling in, A New Dawn, and his comics that he's written for Star Wars, he's a great Star Wars author. I can't wait then to see, what he's got in store for us. So I'm really glad to, like you said, the books weren't at the forefront for me this year, with what was released, but this makes me very excited for what's coming.
Yes, I'm a sucker for any book that is going to be set during that era. I agree with you. The opportunities are really rich. I think Miller is a good writer. I enjoy his work. I think he understands the universe, and I think that he will do a stupendous job with it. I'm not trying to put too much pressure or set myself up for a fall here, obviously, but yeah, I'm thankful that they're, again, just like giving Hayden Christensen and Ahmed Best their due, we're not forgetting the prequels. I've always loved the prequels. You put something in the prequel era, I am 100% on it. I am there with you. And I am thankful that they're sticking with it in the books too, because High Republic has never struck a chord with me. It works for others, and that's cool, man. the general rule. If it works for you, that's awesome. Never lit me on fire. Not really jazzed about it. So knowing that they're not sticking to a singular focus for the books, for instance, what tired me out in the old EU was once we got to a certain era, it was like the books seemed only to be set during then. And I was like, So if that era didn't work for you, I'm talking about specifically the New Jedi Order, I sort of started tuning out because I was like, it's not really working for me. But they can keep me in with the books with something like The Living Force, or every year I go in, and now that Ahsoka's come out, hope springs eternal that Timothy Zahn will get another crack at another surprise Thrawn book or series, because I'm 100% on board for that. I'm trying to will it into existence because I know he's also dropped a hint that he had an idea that he wanted to explore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, that's great. I mean, wouldn't you love to get a series about Thrawn during the period he was missing? I really think that
yes.
Zahn could handle that pretty darn well.
That would be fascinating. I think there's so much storytelling that you could tell in that era, because it's quite a long time that he was gone, and obviously a lot happened to him while he was there. So
yes.
I feel like that should be told. Another thing that I was incredibly excited to see, at this last celebration, they announced, of course, that we would be getting Tales of the Jedi Season 2.
Yes.
Which, both you and I were completely enamored and in love with Season 1. Again, some of the absolute best Star Wars storytelling that's been, and done in 7-minute increments. So I cannot wait to see what they've got in store for us with Tales of the Jedi Season 2. And this is, I think, also just such an incredibly promising series, because there's always small places that you can be filling in stories with this type of structure. And, who knows if we might get a Balin Skull story arc, or something like that. Cool. Just incredibly rich storytelling ideas that could go on for years. And so 2023 had incredible things in it, but to know that 2024 then has incredible things coming up in it as well, I'm like, come on, just give it to us now. Just give it to us now.
Yeah, but I will credit Disney for knowing what they're doing by stringing me along with these releases, because it got me to sign up for Disney Plus again, even though I don't watch anything else on the platform. But that's okay. That's okay. It's worth it to me. And the family, fortunately, because they watch some of the other stuff that's on there I'm hardly aware of. But I can, I want to, I want to shift gears here. I want to ask you a question. What moment packed the most emotional punch for you? What hit you the hardest? What resonates to you where somebody says Star Wars streaming series 2023, and there's a specific moment where you felt like a kid again, or you felt emotionally touched, or you felt like a tremendous cathartic experience? Was there one moment that jumped out at you?
I think it was the moment in Ahsoka when, she comes back and she's different. And her conversation with Sabine of basically admitting her own faults as being her master, and then promising to be there for her and never leave her again, and was just incredibly moving. And part of that was just of the way in which, all of this kind of storytelling for this character and what she had been through fit so well. And, the fact that she had a history of stepping away from things, and in some ways almost like running away from things, not for bad reasons, but, to see her move forward and learn and grow in the way that, the best of the Jedi we would want to see was great. And so that was one moment for me that I think left me feeling incredibly hopeful for what's to come for Star Wars storytelling, for the next, few years. That's the kind of stuff where, you want the characters that you care about to be growing and learning and pushing you forward, right? I mean, because I think that's an incredibly important lesson for all of us to be learning of admitting our own mistakes and looking to move forward as better versions of ourselves, for not just ourselves, but for those around us, the selflessness that is meant to inhabit what it means to be the best of the Jedi. And so that's something that got to me. What about you?
There were two moments. One, because it surprised me, the moment when Tech fell. It caught me off guard.
Yeah, that'll do it.
What caught me off guard about it was I didn't realize until that moment, I loved the show and all of that stuff. I didn't realize until that moment how emotionally attached I was to the characters. Obviously Wrecker I adore for, various reasons and everything. And I love the whole show and all of that. But when he fell, it was this stunning moment where I suddenly realized, oh, I really care about what's going on right now. That was amazing. And then similarly, but in a different way, when Anakin's Force Ghost showed up, benevolently looking on Ahsoka, that was a moment that really reinforced something that any of us who have ever lost someone, that feeling he was always going to be there for her, no matter what. And that death itself couldn't keep him from caring for her. For anybody who's ever lost someone, that's an incredibly powerful moment and an incredibly resonant moment. And I think it was such an important thing to emphasize that having a Force Ghost isn't just a cheap sort of oh, I feel good at the end of Return of the Jedi. The entire thing actually enriches the end of Return of the Jedi, specifically because now you realize what it is it's not just that they won some sort of cosmic lottery. It's because at the end of Return of the Jedi, those are the three people that will never leave Luke. They will always be there for him as much as they can. We don't know what the full rules are about Force Ghosts yet, but they will be there for him. And similarly, Anakin will always be there for Ahsoka because they have a bond like a father and a daughter. And so I think that, let's go ahead and throw that on the table as I'm thankful for something so meaningful, so that would at first glance seem so small, but it's those small, meaningful moments that then make you go back and recast what you saw previously, what it meant or what it can mean. And so that is definitely a moment that really struck me.
I think in the end, I'm thankful that Star Wars storytelling has continued to find ways to move me, make me think, and connect me with others. I think that's one of the beauties of the series, right? And I think obviously too, at its core, when it's at its best, it finds ways to bring people together and teach us hopefully things that are important. And it's the reason that we can continue to do this show and have these conversations together. But it binds the galaxy together, right? It brings us together in, I think, good ways, in important ways. And I think that's the stuff that, we talked about earlier with fandom and everything. Our little show has always been about trying to help people see the best and the most positive parts of this fandom. We're not afraid to have been critical when we need to, but to do that respectfully and openly and honestly. And, at the same time, in the end, it's just about two guys who enjoy this franchise, but just enjoy spending time together and enjoy then getting to talk about it. And could you be any more thankful for something that allows you to just be able to spend time with a friend that you enjoy talking about things with? That's the stuff that you can't put a price tag on, right?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff I think maybe we just need to remember more of in this world anyway. Like what's the stuff that really matters? And in the end, it's about the connections between people. And thankfully, when Star Wars is at its best, it helps us do that. And it's a pretty cool thing.
I completely agree with you, obviously. And it's funny because I'm doing a little bit by bit rewatch of Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which has its ups and downs, but you talk about the connection, and that's always been a scene that resonates, I think, is when Spock comes back from contacting V'ger, and he grabs Kirk's hand and he says, this is what V'ger cannot have, basically. He's like this human connection. And yeah, I'm thankful for it. It's brought us together. We have a reason every week, at least once a week, to come together and have a discussion. We're separated by literally thousands of miles, but we can have these conversations every week. But honestly, folks, it's not just about Star Wars. It's about the time leading up to before we hit the record button, or the time after, when we're talking about the world and talking about where we are in the world and being there for each other. Because as the song resolves itself, the original song at the end of Return of the Jedi back in 1983, Celebrate the Love. And that's what it's all about. And actually, Matt, I'm glad you mentioned the whole talking together, because we actually got a voice message from a longtime listener, Rural Farm Boy, RFB for short. But I want to play a clip real quick for everybody that he sent in. And I think that what he says speaks exactly to what you said.
Howdy, Matt and John. This is one of your longtime listener friends and Star Wars Twitterverse friend, Rural Farm Boy. Or maybe more easily said, RFB. Star Wars podcasters shortened my handle down and made it easier for other folks to say, so nobody has to go stumbling in words over the R's and whatnot. Seen your Twitterverse post asking for listeners and other Star Wars Twitterverse timeline friends, what are you thankful for to include on your yearly tradition that I love very much, Thanksgungan? What I'm thankful for is just what you two have been doing for many years, and all the other friends that make up my podcast library, is for folks to sit down behind a microphone and talk all manner of Star Wars, whatever it may be, the Disney Plus, or the films, or the books, or the games, the comics, the music. I'm thankful for that, because what all you are doing for me, and I hope for many other Twitterverse friends and Star Wars friends, is making another way to escape the modern day by sitting and talking Star Wars. That's been my day every day for at least the past 5 or 6 years. Is I get up in the morning and earbuds are in, playlist is loaded, talk Star Wars to me. And we can agree or disagree on what may be good or bad, which are sometimes opinions, and still be able to be friends. Yeah, that's what I'm thankful for, is folks talking Star Wars to me, just like the Jedi Masters are. I'm thankful for it every day. And yins are the reason why I do what I do. I'm nobody in particular. I'm a listener. So my way to get back to yins and everybody that I listen to is by sharing out the shows I listen to, whether they're in my work day or when I'm home from work, going show by show. You're all the reason I do what I do. to help you out, and maybe somebody else will come and give a listen to what I heard. It's like what I say, you're missing if you ain't listening. That's what I'm thankful for, and thank you for all you've given and what's yet to come. Always looking forward to it and hoping lending a helping hand by sharing out after when I'm hearing it. So may the force be with you both. And I have to say it because I support the Empire. Long live the Empire. See you on the radio.
So RFB, thank you so much for that. It's deeply appreciated. We got some other messages on Twitter as well about what people were thankful for. And I know that another longtime listener, Ryan, he sent a note saying that he was thankful for the Ahsoka release schedule because it gave fandom appointment viewing for Star Wars and a more shared experience for such a great show.
Yes.
So that's right. We had appointment viewing for Star Wars where everybody was revolving around it in a positive way, talking about what was happening. Yes, absolutely. Just like you and me coming together every week to talk about it, it gave everybody an opportunity to come together and whatever channel they were exploring to talk about it.
Yes. Thank you for anyone who, interacts with us. We really appreciate it. It means a lot to us. And, it's, again, as I mentioned, and that's what this is all about, and it's about really bringing people together and help us just to enjoy the things that we do like and we do love, and just get to celebrate that, and so and we're thankful to be able to do that with each other and with you, and so. John, if people wanted to, catch up with you and continue the conversation about the things that they've been thankful for here in Star Wars this last year, where would they find you?
Well, you can find me, as always, as Kessel Junkie out there in the wild space of the internet. And you can find me right here on the network co-hosting another show called House Lights, where we talk about the works of directors. And I make quite a number of frequent appearances over on the 602 Club, which is on the TFM network, which is hosted by you, Mr. Matthew Rushing.
That's correct. You can find me all over social media under the name Matt Rushing02. I love to catch up with you there. Of course, you can also find me outside Aggressive Negotiations here on the network with Owlpost, where Drea Kaufman and I talked about every single chapter of the Harry Potter series, one chapter at a time. When I'm not in the 602 Club there on the TFM network, you can also find me with some other shows. Literary Treks, The Orb, Warp 5, Artificial Tango, and Saddle Up are all places that I'm on. But, as always, we do want to thank you so much for joining us here on another year of Aggressive Negotiations.
Happy Thanksgungan. Negotiations are closed.
Good night, but not.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.